Hi everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Chasers. Today is December 27th, 2021, coming up on 5 p.m. here. Taking a look at the current weather right now, you can see some snow is coming inland here. Should be mostly light for the western portions of Washington and Oregon, maybe a couple inches in the higher terrain, mainly Snoqualmie Pass south through the Oregon Cascades. Not a big snow event, but you might see some flakes and it might even coat the streets. The temperatures are plenty chilly for that, at least about Salem north. So if you guys are liking these videos and liking the channel, click your notifications if you would, and go ahead and click to subscribe and like if you would. Helps the channel out quite a bit. So looking into eastern Washington here, you can see how Omak down to 1 degree, Ephrata, Eatonville down to 9 degrees Fahrenheit, really chilly. Getting down to the teens in eastern Oregon there too. And same for Spokane, mid-teens. So let's just jump right into the satellite imagery here. And if you were looking for some record low temperatures, you don't like seeing the high clouds, which, I mean, that's going to be good for most people. You don't want to be dropping too far. You can see it's already 21 degrees at my house on my Davis there, my Davis Vantage Pro weather station. So if you get light winds with snowpack and clear skies, you can really drop off. We would probably get to close to 10 degrees here in Seattle. And I think that some portions of western Washington would go below zero tonight if we had these clouds out of the way and light winds with the snowpack. I think it's possible. So this is the system moving through tonight. You can kind of see it, just a very weak system. It's got just a tiny bit of moisture with it. But with the Arctic air mass in place, it doesn't take much to wring out a couple hundredths of an inch of precipitation and, you know, maybe coat the roadway or your car with some snow. So we'll see how that system comes in here. Jumping into the world map here, you can see this is 2 meter temperature anomaly here. So our anomaly is the strongest on the planet. We are the furthest below average temperature on the planet right now. You can see Europe is pretty cold now too. Siberia, Alaska, pretty warm. And you can see we're just hogging the cold air here. This is just pretty amazing. And you can see just the record heat through Texas out for the East Coast and southeast of the USA. So taking a look at the stuff moving through tonight, you can see the Euro actually has some accumulation into tomorrow morning, Bellingham south. It's going to be interesting to see that. I mean, some of these areas are showing over an inch, so we'll have to see how this system plays out. But heads up for some snow tonight through western Washington down to western Oregon. And what everybody's been talking about, of course, let's get to it. We're looking at the Thursday system. And the European has been trending colder with that. So snow lovers are going to like to hear that. This is the system coming through tonight. You can see the European kind of has trended towards a little bit more snow coverage. You can see it up over Seattle now versus the 12Z run. Going into the future here, here comes the next system on Thursday. Here she comes out of the northwest. So the 12Z, you can see they both start us out as snow for western Washington. That extends down towards Portland. You can see it's right on the border on the 12Z, and it's a little bit more frozen precipitation here on the 18Z European running here. And then the system passes through, and we get a bit colder after that. The temperatures are going to drop off again after this system. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on with the temperatures during the day on Thursday. This is Thursday. Well, Wednesday night. Let's go into Thursday morning here. You see Seattle at 30, 32. You can see now the 18Z leaves us at about 30 degrees versus 32 in this one. And so you can see it's trending a little bit colder. 34 versus 35, but it could make the difference between accumulating snow and not. And then as we go in, you can see it drops back to freezing here on Thursday afternoon. Remained above freezing on previous model runs. So it is trending colder. And let's look at why this is. Well, let's look at the temperatures, what they get down to that night first. So yeah, it drops us back down into the around 30 degrees for Seattle. You can see Portland down to 25 there. So yeah, the cold air is going to filter back in the region after this Thursday storm. So brief warm up, just above freezing, it looks like on the Euro. And you know, sometimes models tend to scour out Arctic air too quickly, so we need to watch that. It could easily stay freezing or below if we get a good precipitation rate with this storm. So this needs to be watched closely. Let's check out what the winds are doing here. You can see we're still offshore there, and then they start to get a little bit squirrely out of the south, And here comes the south wind on Thursday. And that's going to be working on the Arctic air mass in place for Western Oregon and Washington here. You can see it goes southeast all the way up through the Puget Sound into the Strait, Vancouver Island, southeast winds there. And then you'll see the system come in. So how is the air mass going to handle the southerly winds? Southerly winds can scour an Arctic air mass pretty quickly. You know, it depends on their strength. And then sometimes the air mass is stubborn and it doesn't want to get out of there. And in a situation like this, you might get cold air blocked up against the Olympic Mountains, Kitsap Peninsula, Hood Canal, where the cold air tends to hang out longer, and it could be snow for longer out there, and you could get more of it. But then look at this, as we go into Thursday later in the morning, it goes back to northerly. So, I mean, a warm up and then a shift back to the north, maybe a little bit of a modified deformation band as that system moves through. We'll have to see how that goes, and maybe the snow will start sticking again later in the morning on Thursday. And you can see again, we're offshore flow in the wake of that system. And again, it's kind of doing the same thing here. You got the onshore flow down here in Oregon and the offshore flow up here in Washington as the system tracks right over Portland. And we're going to look at some snow potential here also, so we can check out to see if the eastern portions of the state are going to get anything here. Let's go ahead and look. And this is for tonight, tomorrow morning. That system slides through. And that system is actually showing some precip southern Washington into northern Oregon there for the eastern portions of the state. So heads up there. It looks like some accumulating snow for eastern Oregon. And here comes the next system here, and you can see it accumulating in Seattle, Portland, right on the borderline there into Thursday morning. And then the system slides through and it hits eastern Oregon again. It looks like some of the basin of Washington gets snow also, and out towards Spokane with this Thursday system. So definitely probably more of a snowmaker this round than the last one for the eastern portions of the state. Cascades is always getting good snow. Seattle looks like they pick up at least 2 inches here, and Portland might get 1 to 2 inches before it changes over, and then the system moves out. So this is going to be a fun system to watch come in. We're going to, the model's been trending colder with it, so that is a good thing if you're a snow lover. Let's check the GFS and see what it says. So here's the system coming through tonight. GFS doesn't have the precipitation spreading north as much, but it also doesn't seem to be handling it as well. The precip is already a little bit further extent, a little bit further eastern extent there over Washington. So maybe it's a little bit off there. And then you see the low kind of move down there and out of the way. Reinforcing shot of Arctic air, and then you see Thursday's system come down. And again, looks like moderate precip from Portland north. If the stronger the precip is, the more likely it is to stay a little bit cooler underneath that precipitation as the system comes in. But again, the southerlies are probably going to be working on this air mass. So we'll see how much we warm up by the time this precipitation starts. And you'll see that system kind of weaken, and you see the high pressure build back into British Columbia as it passes through, and we get another bit of a reinforcing shot of some colder air. Going into the future here, just for the heck of it, you can see somewhat of a little bit of a very weak atmospheric river come across here, but it's probably going to be warming things up by here, especially with that. I don't know. There's a pretty good gradient up there still, and we could be going east winds here. And look at Portland. Could be getting some snow here on an east flow through the gorge. We're going to stay active for a while here across the Pacific Northwest. You know what happens when you get cold air built up east of the Cascades, and you start getting systems that are set up out here where it casts a gradient from that wind going east to west through the gorge. Gets very interesting in Portland quickly, and look at that, showing some frozen precip around as that low kind of meanders and probably pulling cold air out. So it all depends on where that low sets up. We're getting kind of into fantasy land here. Let's check the GFS as we go into Wednesday and Thursday morning. See what kind of temperatures it shows for that system coming down from the northwest on Thursday. The latest GFS warmed it up a little bit earlier. You can see freezing there, but the last 2 runs keep Seattle at freezing or below. And then look at that, we just cool right back off again and back into the freezer there on Thursday night into Friday morning, back into the teens even for Seattle. So that would be, the GFS would be really an extreme event there. If we stay freezing or below and we get more snow and back into the ice box, it would be a pretty epic Arctic cold streak we're building up here. So the GFS trended a little bit warmer. The GFS has been, the Euro's been trending colder the last 2 runs. And let's see what the GFS is showing as far as southerly winds through the sound. What kind of winds does it bring? You can see them go south there. They're still fairly weak. We're getting a good southeast wind there. Whidbey Island out towards the San Juan through the Strait there. Vancouver Island. Southerlies aren't that strong. Now they're kicking up there. But you can see the low is right here. And if this happens, you're getting northeast winds through the Fraser River gap here and southerly winds. You're going to get a snow event up by the San Juans, Bellingham in a scenario like this. And then you'll see these winds shift south as the European showed. Fraser River outflow going all the way down through the sound at this point. Similar setup as last time, where these bands of precip are going to be coming off the Arctic air off of BC into Western Oregon and into Eastern Oregon again. But the low looks like it's going to swing through a little bit more maybe on this one. We'll have to see. Let me check out the Euro here before I mention that. Actually, the pressure here of the GFS, sorry. Let's see what this low looks like. You can see it starting to weaken here, and then it troughs out all the way across from the mouth of Columbia all the way back through Wyoming here, and then just kind of weakens as this weak Arctic high sags down and brings us another reinforcing shot of cold air. And then as we get into the future here, you can see we've got a high pressure out here. It's going to stay cold in eastern Washington in this scenario. And if this low drops down like that, that's a good gradient from east to west. Could draw cold air through the gorge there. Portland, watch out going into early next week. And depending on how this sets up here too, if this focuses further south, this Arctic air gets further down into BC, and this low is further south, the entire region could be subject to more winter weather. Yeah, and you can see the Arctic high getting close to BC there in the extended GFS. So yeah, there's a lot to watch for Thursday. The model trends are going to tell us a lot as we get closer. The European is king. It did really well with the last system. I'm really trusting it right now, so I'm excited to see what the 00Z European brings. And you know, we're just going to have to see as we get closer. The models will get much more clear as we get closer as to what's going to happen. But right now, the GFS and the Euro do have southerly winds trying to scour through, and it does bring Seattle just above freezing on the Euro, not quite on the GFS. And Oregon is probably going to be at that place where you're seeing some snow, but it's above freezing at the surface, and it's more of a slushy or just snow and not accumulating type, or just plain old rain as you get further south. But again, we'll watch that low and see how it comes in. So that's about it for tonight, though. So, you know, guys, click like and subscribe. Thanks for the support so far. And I will check back again tomorrow morning with another video on, we'll take a look at that Thursday storm even closer. And we'll check out some ensemble runs tomorrow. And we'll look at some snowfall potential for the entire area tomorrow in those ensembles. So have a good night, guys.